The Triads are one of the world's most secretive and feared criminal organizations. Their story goes back centuries, rooted in ancient Chinese traditions. What began as a revolutionary group aiming to overthrow a dynasty evolved into a global empire, stretching from Asia to the West. And their methods? Some of the most terrifying and bizarre in the underworld. Blood oaths, human trafficking, organ smuggling, you name it. So, how did the Triads become the empire they are today? Let's take a closer look at their rise, their dark activities, and the lasting impact they've had across continents. The origins and evolution of the Triads. It all started in the 17th century. Back then, the Triads weren't the criminal organization we know today. They were called the Heaven and Earth Society, and they had a noble mission: overthrow the ruling Qing dynasty and restore the fallen Ming dynasty to power. These were turbulent times in Chinese history, and people rallied behind the cause. But as time passed and their revolutionary goals faded, the group transformed into something much darker, a secret society that operated in the shadows. The name Triad didn't come into play until much later. It refers to their use of the triangle symbol, representing heaven, earth, and man. This ancient Chinese concept became a key part of their identity, and the Triads held on to these traditions even as they shifted toward a life of crime. Over time, their focus moved away from political change and toward something more profitable: organized crime, expansion, and influence. The Triads didn't stay confined to mainland China. As political tensions rose and economic opportunities appeared, they spread their wings, establishing bases in Hong Kong, Taiwan, and Macau. But it wasn't just a matter of packing up and moving. The Triads became deeply rooted in these places, and their criminal operations flourished. Hong Kong, in particular, became a stronghold for the Triads. They were involved in everything from drug trafficking to extortion, and their influence stretched far beyond the local level. But how did they maintain such power? One word: loyalty. Members of the Triads took blood oaths and underwent rigorous initiation rituals. These were no ordinary street gangs. They had complex hierarchies and rules rooted in ancient Chinese mythology and Taoism. These traditions helped them maintain their secrecy and loyalty over the years. Even though they're mostly associated with China, the Triads didn't stop there. Their reach extended far beyond Asia. They set up operations in Southeast Asia, particularly in countries like Thailand, Malaysia, and Vietnam, where drug smuggling routes proved highly profitable. And in the West, places like the US, Canada, Australia, and the UK became new battlegrounds for Triad-controlled crime. Their operations spanned continents, making them one of the most powerful criminal organizations in the world. Global criminal operations. Now, let's talk about what the Triads actually do. Their empire isn't just limited to one type of crime. They're involved in multiple illegal industries, and they know how to diversify. One of their biggest moneymakers? Drug trafficking. The Triads have a massive hand in the global drug trade, distributing methamphetamine, heroin, and fentanyl. These drugs often come from the Golden Triangle in Southeast Asia, one of the most notorious drug-producing regions in the world. They flood Western markets with these substances, fueling addiction and violence in communities far and wide. Then there's human trafficking. The Triads have perfected this horrifying business, smuggling undocumented workers and often forcing them into labor or prostitution. The people they traffic are exploited, and the profits are enormous. But it doesn't stop there. The Triads also dominate the counterfeiting market, churning out everything from fake luxury goods to counterfeit pharmaceuticals. Counterfeiting might seem less sinister than drug or human trafficking, but it's a global issue that affects millions of consumers, and the profits are just as staggering. And of course, the prostitution rings. The Triads control brothels across Hong Kong, Macau, and Southeast Asia, profiting off forced prostitution and human trafficking. These operations are tightly controlled, and the victims are often treated like property. In Macau, where gambling is king, the Triads have a firm grip on both legal and illegal gambling circuits. They control underground casinos and use them as hubs for laundering money, raking in billions through these operations. The Triads are also heavily involved in smuggling and extortion, particularly in Southeast Asia. Businesses operating in these regions often find themselves paying protection money to the Triads, or they risk falling victim to violence. It's a brutal business, but for the Triads, it's just another way to make money. Shocking facts about the Triads. The Triads have always been shrouded in secrecy, but over the years, some shocking facts about their operations have come to light. For one, their initiation rituals have a bizarre, almost ritualistic quality. In the past, members would drink blood mixed with wine as a way of sealing their loyalty to the group. It's a creepy glimpse into how seriously they took, and still take, membership. Another disturbing fact is their political influence. In places like Taiwan and Hong Kong, the Triads have been linked to political figures and are known to have meddled in elections. Their reach extends far beyond street-level crime, and they've used their influence to gain power in the political sphere. They're also deeply involved in the weapons trade. The Triads control a significant part of the black market arms trade, supplying conflict zones with everything from handguns to heavy weaponry. Their ability to operate in such dangerous and high-stakes markets only adds to their mystique and fearsome reputation. And, as times change, so do the Triads. They've adapted to the modern age by becoming experts in cybercrime. Credit card fraud, identity theft, and hacking are just some of the areas they've mastered. Technology has given them new ways to operate, making them even harder to track down. Strongholds and global reach. In some places, the Triads have become almost untouchable. One of the most infamous Triad strongholds was Hong Kong's Kowloon Walled City. For years, this was a lawless area controlled entirely by gangs, with Triads at the top. It wasn't until the 1990s, when the government stepped in and demolished the city, that they lost their grip. In Macau, where casinos generate billions, the Triads have a firm grip on both legal and illegal gambling operations. Their influence runs deep, often making it impossible for local businesses to operate without some form of Triad control. Across Southeast Asia, journalists and officials who try to expose the Triads' activities often pay the ultimate price. The Triads have no problem using violence to silence those who threaten their operations. Numerous murders of journalists and government officials have been linked to Triad enforcement tactics. Recently, the Triads have even expanded into Africa, taking advantage of local conflicts to run smuggling and trafficking operations. The violence against Chinese expatriates in Africa is alarming, and many suspect the Triads are behind it, profiting from the chaos. They've also formed alliances with South American cartels, primarily for cocaine trafficking. This partnership has created vast networks that smuggle drugs between continents, fueling crime, addiction, and violence on a global scale. The dark side of Triad operations. Perhaps the most chilling part of the Triads' criminal empire is their involvement in organ trafficking. Victims are often from poor or marginalized communities, and their organs are harvested and sold on the black market. This practice is especially rampant in Southeast Asia, where the demand for organs is high, and the Triads are more than willing to meet it. Women in the Triads. Women also play a unique role in the Triads, though this aspect of the organization is rarely discussed. Some women become members, while others are connected to high-ranking leaders through romantic relationships. Many of these women lead double lives. On the surface, they appear respectable, but behind closed doors, they're deeply involved in criminal activities. Being romantically involved with someone in the Triads can be dangerous. Once in, it's hard to get out. Loyalty and secrecy are everything, and those who cross the organization often face dire consequences. The Triads are far more than just a criminal organization. Their history is intertwined with politics, ancient traditions, and modern technology. They've built an empire that spans continents, dominating illegal industries from drugs to human trafficking. As they continue to adapt and evolve, their reach only grows stronger. If this look into the world of the Triads grabbed your attention, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell icon so you never miss an update. What part of their story surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments, and let's keep the conversation going.